a very warm welcome today to a live chat I'm having with Gugu Sidaki. And today we are going to talk about how can we make our kids money smart. So Gugu, thank you so much for joining me today. Please just introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Ilze. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to everybody who's watching us today. My name is Gugu Sidaki. I am a mom of two. I've got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. I call them my bosses. What I do for a living is I'm a financial advisor. I co-own a financial advisory practice called Wealth Creed. And then I also own a financial literacy platform for children called My Three Piggies, where we teach children about money. And that's me in a nutshell.
So that is what we want to talk about today, is how do we really make our kids money smart? So Gugu, when I grew up, I had very loving, caring parents, but my parents didn't teach me a single thing about money. I think the things that they taught me about money is that money does not grow on trees. And, that was to the extent, another thing is there was never enough. There's not enough. No, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
And that created such a incentive and a drive in me to do it differently for my children. And tell me, what was the message that you received from your parents around money? And what was your money mindset as a child?
Sure. My father was an entrepreneur. And he was quite successful. So he had his fingers in so many different pies. And my initial money memory is of him and his employees cashing up at the end of every day. And there was just always money around. And we always there was always a basket of money in our home of like loose change. And we were to access it to go buy our daily supplies, milk, bread, whatever we needed for the day. Nobody checked how much I took, how much we accessed. Nobody checked if we brought back the change. And I remember as a child that the basket used to stay in my parents' wardrobe. And I remember just sticking my hand in there, pulling out whatever coins came out, and that was that. My dad passed away when I was 9 years old. And for most of my life, I just remember my mom almost overcompensating for his absence. So we used to go shopping quite a lot, whether my mom had the money or not. We'd go to, I remember it was a particular store that we'd go to where she had a store card, and we'd just, take whatever we wanted. So it was that. And then occasionally my mom would be quite strict, and I don't know if she did it intentionally, whether she was aware of it or not, but she often used to say no, to a lot of our requests as children. Whether she had the money or not, I think was irrelevant, just almost to teach us boundaries. And I think in me, it created, I became a spender because of the way I grew up. In my mind, there was always enough money, and there's always going to be enough money, whether it's my money or whether it's credit card, whatever the case is. I became a very, very, very big spender. But I think also the memory of my mom, sort of intervening every now and again and saying no to all of my requests also has created or formed the kind of mom that I am today, where I occasionally, in fact, I think I do it quite often with my kids, where I just occasionally say no, to whether I've got the money or not. I just want to teach them those boundaries, that they can't always have things that they want all the time when they want them. So in a nutshell, I'm a spender because of the way that I grew up.
Okay. And Gugu, the way that we grow up, the messages that we received from our parents, those all become part of, and even subconsciously, of the relationship that we then develop with money. Yeah. So for me, who grew up with the message, there's not enough, money does not grow in trees, and very often a no to things that I wanted, gave me an initial relationship with money that there's just not enough money ever. I changed, and I changed it for myself so that I could empower myself and learn how to become a person who creates well-being, financial well-being for myself as well. And
Yeah.
as that started to happen, my kids were they were 10 years and younger, and I then decided I'm going to do it very differently with them. I'm going
Yeah.
to teach them about money, how money
Yeah.
works, how to look after money, how to
Yeah.
have a good relationship with money.
Yeah.
So how did you say your relationship with money is that you're a spender, but I'm also sure that you have changed a bit,
Yeah.
a big part of that for yourself.
I have. I definitely have. I think with the work that I do, I realized that I couldn't carry on along this path. As a younger adult, I think it was okay because I didn't have a lot of financial responsibilities. I didn't have children at the time. So being that way with money was kind of okay. But the older I got, and the more I got into the kind of work that I do, the more I realized that I couldn't carry on this way. So the temptation is always there, to default to factory settings and to want to just part with money. But I've become a lot more responsible because I help people with exactly this, on a regular basis. So it wouldn't make sense for me to not do that for myself. So I've become a lot more aware of my behavior, and I've become a lot more responsible with my money over time.
So, what would you consider the biggest lessons that you want to teach your children about their relationship with money?
Yeah, there's a couple. The first, and I think one of the most important ones, is delayed gratification. Children don't understand no or later. And it's our responsibility as the dominant parent, as the adult in their lives, to teach them that, and not just with money, but with all aspects of their lives. But when it comes to money in particular, I don't like to take my children to the shops because this is where I experience it the most. But as we're navigating the aisles, you know how children are, then whatever it is that they see, they want. And on principle, I say no to my children purely because I haven't communicated that we're going to buy anything for them, on our way to the shops. So that's I think my biggest lesson that I want to teach my children: delayed gratification. The second is planning, and a big part of planning is setting goals and budgeting. My children do chores. They're still very young, so they're not very consistent and they're not very good with the chores that they do. But I'm now slowly teaching them that they're going to earn that money, and once they've earned that money, they can't just spend it. So we always talk about, okay, so once your piggy bank is filled to the brim, what are you going to do with your money? So in a way that they understand, they'll talk about, oh, I'm going to buy a couple of toys, I'm going to buy this and that. So things that are way above, what a lot more expensive than what they have money for. But I'm just trying to teach them that they can't just go to the shops and spend the money. So they need to plan and budget for it. And the last one, and I think as important, is the fact that money is earned. As you said earlier, it doesn't just come from nowhere, it doesn't fall from the sky. They need to know that, there's a bit of effort that needs to go into whatever it is that they do for them to be able to get the money. So I think those are the three most important lessons.
Now, I want to expand on your last one, that money is earned. Money doesn't just fall from the sky. And it's a difficult one for parents to say, how do I get my children, even when they're young, to earn their money? So parents choose to give their children pocket money, and pocket money is not earned. So I give parents the following guidance. I say, go and make a list of chores in the house, like unpacking the dishwasher, feeding the pets. You can, if you want to, make your bed. It's just something that you believe that your child should be doing without having to get paid for it. To have specific tasks in the house, and to say maybe 5 tasks, and to tell them that for every task that they receive, that they go and complete, that they can. I had a jar and marbles, and for every chore that they completed every day or twice a day, whatever it's feeding the pets, they must go and put a marble into their jar. And then so many marbles they had at the end of the week, they had to come and show it to me on a Sunday night, and as many marbles in the jar. That is how. So if 5 marbles in the jar, I would give them 5 rand.
Right.
So
Right.
that's how I teach them that money is earned.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
thing that's really important for me as well, Gugu, is I wanted to teach my children. And nobody taught me that when I was young. And I would, if I can stand on the mountaintops and shout this out to adults, please teach your kids this. Maybe first teach yourself this, but
Yeah.
please teach your kids this. That money flows to those people that look after money. I call money, in my case, I call it Mr. Money. For a man, I will call it Miss or Mrs. Money. And I
Yeah.
say, and I explain to my children how important it is to develop a relationship with money as if it is, when we personify it or we put it in a metaphor, you are in a relationship with
Right.
Mr. Money or Miss Money. And
Right.
how will you be? So, of course, this is only working more efficiently when they start to date. But how
Right.
will
Right.
you be in a relationship with a Miss or a Mrs.? You will
Yeah.
look after the person, you will spend time with it, you will
Right.
care for it, you will want to
Communicate.
communicate,
Yes.
organize, and plan about.
Yes.
And that is how I've actually helped my children to develop a relationship with money, that they understand there's a mindset about money and not
Yeah.
just I get money as pocket money. So for me, I really wanted them from very young to learn to save.
Yeah.
And they had, I opened a bank account for them, and
Mm.
I linked to that was a savings account. And when the
Right.
money went into the bank account, they had to go and save a percentage of that.
Mm.
And I love what you're also saying about working towards something. So,
Yeah.
can you give an example? Now your kids are still young, where you have helped them to work towards something.
Yeah. So
About
there,
delayed gratification.
yeah. So there are a number of toys. It's all about toys because this is their world. There are a number of toys that my children want, and on principle, I've just because of the price tag, I've just said no. I'm not going to buy that for them. But my deal with them, and particularly my daughter, because she's the older one and she understands a little bit more, is that she needs to do a couple of things around the house. And as I said, not too consistent about it, but the principle remains that I'm going to put money in her piggy bank as and when she does the chores, and that's going to go towards that big toy, that big expensive toy that she wants for herself. And it's taking time because I said that she's not particularly consistent with her toys, but in her mind, she understands that that's something that she's never going to have until she fills her piggy bank with a certain amount of money. So she's still 6 years old, and she was 5 when we started the process. But I think it's slowly starting to land that, and I always exclaim. I do it for effect whenever we're in the shops and she points at something she wants, and I always get all dramatic. And I'm like, what? So much money. I don't have that money. We need to save for it, so that it registers in her mind that not everything is accessible. And oftentimes we actually have to put more money or so save for a little bit of time and wait, until they get the things that they want.
Now, it is so easy when you have some money. It's easiest to spend money is to spend it on your children. That's
Yeah.
the easiest way of spending money. You do it without thinking, without hesitating, because we
Yeah.
just love our children to bits. But that
Absolutely.
can also mean that we are not teaching them right skills. We're not teaching them how to have that relationship with money, that you earn money and you look after money. So, Gugu, you have written books for children. So tell us about that.
So, as I mentioned, I'm a financial advisor, and I host quite a lot of financial literacy classes for potential clients and existing clients. And over the months when we started out with these classes, I got a lot of requests to extend this information to children, because the parents were obviously gaining quite a lot. And for a lot of them, this was the first time that they'd heard a lot of this information. And that's where the idea came from, to package information, financial literacy information for children. And so it's a series of 3 books where we follow a little girl called Nala along her journey to understanding how to manage money. So it starts with her understanding that money's earned. So she gets to understand that, her parents work, they work for a salary. And then she gets to understand that, spending there's a difference between overspending, underspending, so living within your means. She gets to learn that she can't spend everything on herself, and that a portion of her money should be shared, because that's what good people do. And then ultimately she learns about delayed gratification. So there's something that she wants but cannot afford with her savings. So her mom teaches her that you won't necessarily be able to afford the item that you want through saving. You need to grow your money through investing. And she gets to learn in a 5-year-old way what investing is.
Oh, that's great. I love it. Where can we get hold of these books of yours?
So you can get them directly from us at my3piggies.com.
My3piggies.com.
Oh, sorry, the number, yes, my3piggies.com. You can also go to Takealot, and you can go to Amazon. So they're available on those 3 platforms.
Okay, great. I'm definitely going to invest in that for my grandchildren. My kids are not growing up.
Awesome.
I've also, in 2018, a book of mine was published, and I've written it for families about. The title is Passing the Torch, Preserving Family Wealth Beyond the Third Generation. Yes. And it's also about how you raise your children with the well-being, because wealth comes from the Welsh word that means well-being. And how do you raise your children with the mindset that wealth, financial well-being, wealth is part of well-being, but you also build your wealth in your physical body, you build your wealth in your social networks, you build your wealth in your family relationships, you build your wealth in the work that you do, and you build your mental wealth in how you expand and grow your mind. And of course, you build your spiritual wealth in living with a vision and a purpose and making a difference. But the specific one of financial wealth is to know that you will only achieve that when it becomes something that is really, really important to you. It can't be a pie in the sky wish. It is a delayed gratification, action steps, and a heart's desire to achieve it. Because without that, people say, when you ask a room full of people who want to become financially independent and who wants financial security, most hands will go up. When you ask people, how many of you have a savings account, or how many of you have a relationship with money where you really work towards growing money, not spending money, then they have to go down.
Absolutely.
And what we want to teach our children is to have that mindset, that relationship, that money is important. Gugu, you and I know money is important. It opens doors, it opens opportunities, it definitely enhances life. It brings well-being.
Absolutely. And so many people are we deal with them all the time, highly educated individuals, highly accomplished, people who are doing really, really well for themselves. So it's not a matter of a lack of intellect, this lack of money management. It's just an aspect of us that we weren't necessarily taught how to manage. And as you said, it's one of those things, it's a continuous relationship. You're not going to wake up one day and know how to manage your money. And what I always say to my clients is, if you can't manage 100 rands, you're not going to miraculously know how to manage 1,000,000 rands when you come into that money. The way you are with 10 rands, the way you are with 100 rands is exactly the person you're going to be with 1,000,000 rands. And if that's not a reflection of the kind of person you want to be with money, then obviously something needs to change. And as you said, it's a continuous relationship, and it starts with everyday little practices to eventually get you to that point.
So to be a parent who is money smart. so that you can be the role model, because the strongest message is not through our words, but through our role modeling. So
Absolutely.
if I look at the smartest way for me as a parent to be money smart is to go to my children that I love what I do, and I do what I love, and I get handsomely paid for that. And I take that money and I save a portion and I grow a portion. And I live from a portion, possibly the biggest portion, but that there's definite action and a goal to work towards with delayed gratification. So how do you roll your children? How are you a mommy?
I try. It's so hard, but I do try. So, as I said, I prefer not to take them to the shops, but when I do, especially my daughter, I tell them exactly what we're going to get at the shops. You know, that's planning, that's budgeting. And on our way there, I talk them through the process of how we're going to get what we're going to get and why we're not going to get any more. So I always say to them, we're getting bread, we're getting milk, and we're getting meat to cook for supper tonight. And that's all mommy has money for. Okay, so when we get to the shops, please don't ask me about crisps. Don't ask me about the sweeties, because those things we have at home. So that's teaching children how to budget. They know that once I've discussed it with them before we leave the house, there's no room for error. There's no room for anything else once we get to the shops. So for me, the budgeting and the planning, I think, is really, really important. But I kill two birds with one stone with that, and that it's also part of the delayed gratification, is that often when they see the things that they want, they're not going to get them, you know. And the second thing, as you said, I teach my daughter. Like I said, she's the oldest one, so she gets these lessons a lot more. So when I go into the office and I start working, she says to me, "You're going to press a few buttons, and then after a long time, you're going to make money, and then it's going to be for our food and our toys." And I'm like, exactly. The food and the toys don't come from nowhere. You know, mommy has to press a few buttons on her computer. In other words, that's work. And then once I've worked, I've earned some money, and then we can, you know, start spending. So she gets 3 lessons from mommy that I do quite consistently.
Okay. Gugu, I really like that you put a very firm boundary down and you prepare them with only going to buy these items and nothing else. So no unrealistic expectations. They know, and if you repeat that consistently, they start to know that you mean it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So my husband is the one who always gives in, unfortunately. So they think they can get their way with me as well, but I'm quite firm on that. So we don't budge.
So Gugu, if people want to get hold of you, and I want you to just repeat again where they can get your books, how can people get hold of you? What is your website?
Right. So for the financial literacy books, it's www.my3piggies.com. And if they want to email us, it's info@my3piggies.com. And we're available on Instagram at my3piggies_ZA. It's my3piggies on Facebook, and my3piggies_ZA on Twitter as well.
Great. So there is a lot of places that people can go and find your very, very valuable books. I also want to mention that Passing the Torch, Preserving Family Wealth Beyond the Third Generation, it was published in New York by Bloomberg and Wiley. So it's widely available on Amazon, but I also have copies in South Africa. And if anyone is interested, you can just email me, you can call me, and I will make sure that you can order a book from me. So the biggest takeaway I want people to take from this is be a money smart adult to role model to your kids to be money smart.
Absolutely.
So Gugu, thank you so much. Is there something last that you want to just say?
There is. I couldn't agree with you more about modeling the behavior that we want to see in our children. There is a lot of research that speaks to exactly that. Children have, the suggestion is that children's financial habits are formed by the time they turn 7. At that age, they don't have money of their own to practice with. So it means that they're learning through watching the dominant adult in their lives and how that person is managing their money. So you have a real impact on your children and how they manage their money. So if you want them to be money savvy, if you want them to be responsible with their money, you have to model that behavior. And even if it means you have to fake it, learn, understand what it is that you need to do, but they need to see it from you. And that's honestly one of the best ways to influence the right kind of behavior with your children and their money.
Absolutely. So let's raise children that's even smarter than us with money and make more money so that they can make a bigger impact in this world. So with that, I thank you so much for sharing this platform with me. It's our wish, Gugu and I wish that we have touched your lives with something significant, that you will take some practical action steps for this, you will go and apply it with your children, and that we raise a new generation of really money smart kids. Thank you, Gugu.
Thank you so much, Ilze.